Hey everybody, I'm Ross Rapoport. Thanks for watching this episode of Roadfly TV. Now I'm kind of obscuring the logo by sitting on it, but I'm sure you know this is the all-new Jeep Gladiator, the most talked about truck of the last decade, and I am all aboard the hype train. So it's kind of a challenge to find stuff to talk about here on the spec sheet because to me this car is not about the spec sheet. I keep coming back to kind of riffing on the Porsche slogan, there is no substitute. Look at this. There's no other car, no other truck that can do this. So you might as well just throw all this out. If you're curious, the total price is $59,830, which sort of, again, riffing on the Porsche thing, there's so many options here and it's a lot more expensive than you'd think. But it's an experience and that costs money. And to me, this isn't something that you buy over another truck or over another Jeep or anything like that. You're thinking too small. You buy this or a Harley or a Rolex or, a Shelby GT, whatever it is, convertible. Like, this is a lifestyle purchase, first and foremost. So I think trying to compare it to other trucks and say, oh, this interior is better than that, this has this specs and the other thing doesn't, it's kind of a waste of time. You're gonna know whether you want one of these the first time you see it, the first time you sit in it. It's that kind of car. But if specs are your thing, then here's a number for you, 7,650. That's the towing capacity for this truck. So it isn't just a pretty lifestyle statement. It actually can do some work. Well, there you go, kids. Feast your eyes on that. Base price $43,500, total price $59,800. So Charlie corrected me on the price. I thought it was one of these kind of launch edition things where they're all expensive, but that's not actually the case. The sport trim of this thing starts at $33,500. Oh, yeah. So there is sticker shock when you first look at this particular model, 60,000 bucks, basically. But you can get into one for almost half that. $33,500 for a sport. If you really don't need all the extra off-road capability, that's probably going to be enough for most people. And as I said, it is kind of a lifestyle purchase, so from that standpoint, this is probably one of these at $33,500 is probably a better buy than that Harley at $25,000 I mentioned, or a top trim Ducati or a Rolex.
So Ross, you and I both agree that this truck doesn't really compare. You're not going to really compare it to Tacoma or Colorado Canyon Range or whatever, but we really have to, I think, because the people who buy this, many of them will cross shop against a Tacoma, etc.
Yeah, I'm not a market researcher, so I don't know how many people are following my sort of gut feeling that this is just a lifestyle purchase for a really well-off person versus a guy who may be working his way up to the full-size trucks and really just needs a mid-size and really wants to see how they all stack up. Charlie said that you can't compare the Ridgeline to this, but I'm going to do it anyway.
You definitely cannot.
They're all compact to mid-size trucks. I understand it looks a little different, but anyway.
All right, let's just compare them on the Rubicon trail and be done with it.
Yeah, sure. So this obviously would do better there. Something about the looks, Charlie, we were both surprised to learn that this thing is fully competitive with shorter bed versions of the Tacoma and Nissan Frontier, for example, at 60 inches. Something about the way it looks makes the bed appear shorter. Maybe it's the uprightness of the rear glass or something, but it did come as a little bit of a surprise. So on payload, it's competitive. On towing, it exceeds, honestly, all of those mid-sized trucks. To nitpick it, you might say that there's not as much kind of little neat storage cubbies and stuff in the bed, like compared to a Ridgeline, for example.
Okay, that's the last comparison to Ridgeline, please. You're killing me.
hey man, I sold my Honda. I still gotta represent.
You know, one thing we haven't talked about is the comfort, how comfortable this is compared to some of those other trucks. And I should throw in the disclaimer that I've owned plenty of Tacomas. This is the driving, the refinement that's built into this is head and shoulders above the others.
Okay, so I was thinking it was better, but I just haven't been in a Tacoma in a while, so I'm glad you said that. People bash the Wrangler a lot for being uncomfortable and unrefined. I think those people are on another planet. Maybe it's just what my expectations were, but my mom has had 2 Wranglers, and even her last one, which was a JK, was fine on a 6-hour trip from their house in Connecticut to down here. And this is a million times better than that. So, again, I think I said it was a King Ranch for a sport compact guy like me, and I think I'm sticking to that. This is absolutely a comfortable car. I mean,
well, when we're doing comparisons with the trucks, you have to talk about the style and of the interior and the refinements of the interior as well, because Fiat Chrysler vehicles, Jeeps have the best center console system, the best infotainment system, and the best sort of the ergonomics of the center console.
I agree. The user interface for the electronics is great, and we'll definitely have to get a shot of the rear view camera that honestly looks like an anime in high def. It's crazy. So they have really impressed me with that, and it's cohesive. For at the risk of using an overused term, it's very cohesive. There's a sort of butch aesthetic that is found throughout the cabin. Everything it's not disjointed. You really have to start quibbling, like what you were talking about, the door for the media plugins. You would have to be annoyed with that. You would have to be annoyed that the rear sliding window isn't power. You actually have to get out and open it, which again takes me back to, this isn't your father's King Ranch. You know, I don't see a 60-year-old 300-pound guy driving one of these. This is for somebody a little younger who is maybe getting on the way to something like a King Ranch, but isn't there yet, and thinks of it sort of as like a kind of an old person's car. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.